Hello, welcome to Podsongs. I'm Jack Stafford, and I interview inspiring people in service to others as inspiration for a new song. Today, I'm speaking with a climate journalist who gave up her job with the newspaper to set up her own subscription newsletter called Heated. This is someone passionate and living in service to the planet that the rest of us take for granted. Please welcome Emily Atkin. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I just switched to headphones.
Good idea.
Yeah. How you doing?
I'm great, thank you. Thanks for taking the time to speak to me.
Sure. It seems cool. Couldn't write a song? I'm like, awesome.
Yes. Yeah, it's a little twist there on the old podcast format. Unfortunately, it's a hell of a lot more work than your normal podcast. This is a pretty stupid idea.
Well, we all have stupid ideas, but sometimes the stupid ideas are also fun.
Yeah. So how's Heated working out for you?
Pretty good. It's my thing, so I get to do whatever I decide to do, and that's the freedom of that is always it's worth everything. So.
Yeah. So you just for anyone that doesn't know, you quit your job to do a newsletter specifically about climate change, and so
I did. Yeah, I was working at the New Republic for about 2.5 years. The extension of a 7-ish year career covering climate change, 10-ish year career just being a journalist and like working for other people. And I don't know, something kind of snapped in me where I was like, I think I want to try something that's just mine.
Good idea.
Yeah,
well,
I don't know. It seemed crazy at the time. I mean, we're talking about stupid ideas. Like, definitely when I quit to do this, there were a lot of people who were like, "Are you sure?" They're not laughing now, though.
I heard a joke when I wanted to be a comedian and I did it, but they're not laughing now. Actually, yeah, I told that terribly, but it was funny when the comedian told Bob Monkhouse. He's very good.
Well, are you a comedian?
No, so it's doubly not funny. So.
Well, I mean, it makes it okay, right?
So I'm trying to learn more about climate change, and I've arranged also to speak to Dave Powell from Sustainababble and Jacqueline Gill, who's a paleoecologist, which I never. Well, I didn't.
Yeah, I know Jacqueline.
So, and you're the first one I'm speaking to. So.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So you don't know anything about climate change.
I know it's getting hotter. Things are getting hotter.
Sometimes things get colder because of climate change too.
Okay.
Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
So, like the average temperature of the Earth gets hotter, but that's, the Earth is pretty big, right? Mm-hmm. And there are different climates within the global climate. There are desert climates. There are there are Arctic climates, and the way that overall that carbon changes the atmosphere, it increases the overall temperature of the Earth, but it does weird stuff to individual parts of the Earth. So yeah, some places get hotter, but then some places just get more extremes, and that's really what climate change is. It's an increase in extremes, and that means extreme heat events, extreme cold events, extreme hurricanes, extreme droughts. It's not uniform. The climate is very different. So just this like small temperature change across the Earth affects everywhere in these fundamentally weird and different ways.
But will the ice caps melt then? I mean, is that guaranteed now?
It's not guaranteed, but they'll melt certainly if we don't do anything. Okay. I mean, if we just keep doing what we're doing right now, then yeah, of course they're going to melt.
Have we reached is the tipping point? Has it already gone too far, or is it still reversible?
There's definitely not consensus on whether we've reached a tipping point. There are certainly, you'll find climate scientists who will say, absolutely, we've reached a tipping point, but that's not, when we say like there's a consensus in climate science that climate change is real and it's happening and it's human caused and it's harmful and all that, like we're agreed on that. We're definitely not at a point where scientists agree on we've hit a tipping point. At least for the ice caps.
Because I guess rising sea level is like, because at the moment we're having all these, well, you Americans are getting all these storms, these huge, bigger and bigger every year. So
yeah, and that'll keep happening no matter what. No matter even if we stopped all carbon emissions today, the weather would still keep getting worse for at least like 20 years. What we're trying to do is make sure it doesn't get worse than this, and like keep going, because the problem is we've already emitted so much carbon. There's already the atmosphere is already warmed more than 1 degree Celsius, right? Mm-hmm. So it's there already. And unless we find like a really awesome new technology, large scale way to just suck it all out, we're already at a point where we're going to be dealing with consequences. The question just is, how much worse are those consequences going to get, and can we in the long term pull back from it?
Okay, so that's what you're campaigning through, to education and trying to convince politicians, I guess,
Well, I'm a reporter, so I mean, I come at my reporting from a perspective of like, bare minimum, we should probably do something, just because this is like, it's like if you were covering the pandemic and you didn't think that we should stop the pandemic, right? No, you wouldn't want a reporter who's covering the pandemic who wasn't like pressuring politicians to be like, don't you think you should address the pandemic? And that's sort of how I approach climate change. Like, I don't see myself as an activist. I'm just trying to ask questions about why we're not doing anything and educate people about why, and educate people about what we are doing, and create a very informed citizenry.
I heard you picked 3 Republican candidates who would be really good for climate change, and Biden wasn't one of them. But how do you feel about his election? Do you think it's going to work out?
I mean, I don't know. I don't really think it depends on Biden. I don't really put faith in any individual political leader. And I don't think that action in a democracy really depends on one political leader, unless you have someone like our current president, Donald Trump, who doesn't listen to anybody. I think at least what we have with Joe Biden is somebody who has demonstrated ability to listen and ability to be influenced by people, which is what you want fundamentally in a democracy, right?
Sounds like a pretty fundamental part of it.
One would think, right? So even with that, it's not like I don't put my faith in the man. I put my faith in people, and I think, of course, something great could happen. It just depends on whether people are educated enough, angry enough, passionate enough, and I do think that all stems back to whether they're informed enough.
Because if he rejoins the Paris Agreement, will that help a lot? Or
no, I mean we'll just be back where we were 4 years ago. I mean, we were in the Paris Agreement 4 years ago. We haven't been the last 4 years, and when we get back in, we'll be at the same place we were 4 years ago, which is not great. It'll help. I mean, it's not like it's nothing, but
It's the kindergarten, I had it called.
It's kindergarten, yeah, as Cory Booker said. It's kindergarten. It's like, okay, great, you graduated kindergarten, you're an adult. I mean, it's something. It's like, oh, you're on the way to first grade, that's great, but like, it's Billy Madison. Have you ever seen the movie Billy Madison?
No.
It's like, it's this rich kid, Adam Sandler plays this dumb rich kid who goes back to school to graduate high school, and he graduates first grade by like drawing a blue duck and he gets a party, but it's like, it's not that impressive. You're a man.
Okay. But as also it seems more and more billionaires are giving up. I saw one guy was giving 98% of all his riches, and then Jeff Bezos is giving this 10 billion. So sounds positive.
Yeah, I mean, those people all should give away their money, just in terms of how they got it. They hold disproportionate responsibility for the situation that we're in. They profited and made all of their money off of the fossil fuel economy. They are rich because of climate change, and they have a moral responsibility, I would say, to give back. Jeff Bezos giving away $10 billion seems like a lot to you and me. Sorry, I guess somebody is in trouble. But, it seems like a lot to you and me, but to the average, like, American, Jeff Bezos' proportion of his income, giving away $10 billion is like the same as me giving away like $800. And also, I didn't cause the climate crisis. Like, I don't own Amazon. My company doesn't emit as much as Denmark. My company is just me, writing on my computer. So, Jeff Bezos and all these billionaires giving away money, they get a lot of good press. They get a lot of thank you, kind sir, for your very wonderful help. They don't get a lot of, like, maybe you should give more, or maybe you should. The other thing about that too, it's like they're giving away their money to the causes that they choose, right? And climate change is a problem that affects everybody. And it affects vulnerable people the most. So the question is, do you trust Jeff Bezos and all the other very rich billionaires to be the ones who choose how we solve the climate crisis? Do you think that the way that they choose to do it is going to benefit the most vulnerable people? And if you trust that, then that's fine. But I think there's probably some reason to think that maybe we should all have a say.
Yeah, billionaires not the most. Yeah, I mean, like Bill Gates gave away all his millions to his own foundation, which is still under his control.
Yeah, and there's people are naive if they think that billionaires give away money and do philanthropy because they're good people. I'm sure they have good motivations as part of it, but it's like well documented that philanthropy improves the public image of the giver, which is very necessary for billionaires because people hate billionaires. So they're just trying to get people to hate them less.
Yeah, you're by definition selfish if you're a billionaire. I mean, you've taken all the Twinkies.
I mean, $1 billion? You really need $1 billion?
That's a lot.
It's like a lot, especially if you're Jeff Bezos and you have $128 billion. Like, that's too many billion dollars. It's like too many.
You're spending billions just to protect the other billions.
Yeah, all the billions are security guards for the other billions.
So if you have lunch with Jeff Bezos or even just a coffee, what would you recommend? What's the best project he could invest in to reduce climate change?
Getting money out of politics and evening out democracy. The best project he could invest in is democracy. I really think that one of the reasons that America hasn't been able to pass any comprehensive climate change legislation, it's clearly not because the majority of the American public doesn't want it. The majority of the American public does want it. If we had a functioning democracy that worked the way it was supposed to, we would have had climate policy passed a long time ago. But that's just not the case. Our political system is influenced disproportionately by people with money and stake and power in the fossil fuel economy. So I think the best thing he could do is put his money into making that not the case anymore, giving power back to the entire population of the country to make the decision on how to solve climate change.
I'm not a big fan of democracy, really, though, because I'm British, and so we just had Brexit, and so the people get to vote. They get to vote on a referendum if they want to leave, the Europe, and the people spoke, but it's the people who often vote are the most motivated, or these people wanted to leave. If we had another referendum, maybe we would go back in. So
right. I mean, it's a question of a functioning democracy, right? Like, just democracy doesn't, like, we have a democracy in the United States too. It just sucks. Like, it doesn't work. It doesn't work the way it's supposed to work. Yeah. People don't vote. Why don't they vote? There are tons of barriers to voting. They're disillusioned about voting. They've been convinced it doesn't matter. Like, when people vote, they make decisions based on falsehoods, like based on conspiracy theories they think are true but are not true. That's a failure of another part of democracy, which is journalism and the information system, right? So there are definitely lots of ways that democracy needs to be improved, not just here, but everywhere.
Yeah.
But if it were working, if everyone were voting, if the information everyone was getting was at least always grounded in truth, right? Doesn't matter. The biggest problem I have with climate denial is that and Republicans in America, is that it's not that they don't want to do anything about climate change. It's that they don't accept the fact that climate change is real and dangerous. And that's not an opinion that's not an opinion. It's science, right? We have so much incontrovertible evidence that climate change is very dangerous, and will keep getting dangerous, and will kill people, and will pose huge threats to national security, the economy. That's not an activist thing, right? It costs a ton of money. And so if Republicans would just say, I don't want to do that, I don't want to tackle it, or just make an argument for why we should ignore it, that's fine. I probably don't agree with that, but at least it's an intellectually honest argument based in facts. But right now we have a problem with democracy in that our information landscape spreads conspiracy theory and falsehood in order to influence voters. And that's the problem. When I see also, there's the economic argument of Republicans in this country is very stupid. They're well, it costs too much to pass climate legislation. I was just thinking about this today, and I was the way that they think about money, it's you spend $2 trillion to fight the climate crisis. It's oh, that's too much. Let's not spend any money addressing it now. It's the same as when you're given, the option of a yearly or a monthly subscription for something. And it's do you want to pay $50 now, or do you want to pay $10 a year for the rest of the year? And you're wow, $50 is too much. I'm going to pay $10. Basically, Republicans are saying I want to pay $10 a month for the rest of my life, rather than just paying $50 today and never having to pay for it again, and then making money. It's very stupid. But we don't have an information landscape that promotes those types of arguments. We have an information landscape.
That's the same problem. Healthcare or any of the problems you're facing in America all stems from the same thing. Though there's a lot of the lobbyists.
Yeah, it's so bad.
Yeah,
it's so bad. But Jeff Bezos just announced his first round of grants, and they're all going not all of them, but a lot of it is just going to projects that suck carbon out of the air, which is great. We need that too, but it's just
yeah. This year, wasn't it? Russia was on fire. Australia, the Amazon, obviously. You had a little bit in America as well.
There are mad places on fire.
Yeah.
Places be on fire.
Maybe that we should make a list of the places that weren't on fire.
Hmm.
And that might be a shorter list.
Yeah. That would be it's like all the places you can move that aren't on fire.
So I mean,
it's just like Maine, Canada.
But maybe if we bring down Jeff's, goals a little bit, just fixing world democracy, American democracy. If we bring the bar down a little bit for him, what other projects? Because I tried to also speak to the people who are doing. There's this Great Green Wall in Africa. They want to do what do you call it? Reforestation. Like seems like a good idea to me to turn the deserts back into forests. So what's...
Yeah, I mean, all those kind of things to me are just like so minuscule and so small and Jeff Bezos is the richest person in the world that I'm like, give him a break and have him invest in a green wall. I'm like, no, invest in reforming democracy, invest in holding fossil fuel companies accountable for the billions of dollars they made off of the climate crisis and like spreading denial, like get some of that money back, right? Invest in like a large scale information campaign to get not only educate people about climate science. I mean, one thing he could really do, which would be great, is invest in climate education and getting fossil fuel industry money out of the American school system, and getting fossil fuel influence out of the school system. We don't even realize this, but like there's so much propaganda in like public schools from oil and gas industry, and in the United States we're taught very culturally from a very young age that like we need this or else we won't have hot water at bath time, and it's almost like a scare campaign. I'm very uninterested in green walls for Jeff Bezos.
What about shouldn't he just put the money into getting Bernie Sanders elected?
I don't think that Jeff Bezos should decide who gets to be in power. Jeff Bezos should use his money giving the power back to everybody, right? Like, if he wanted to spend it getting Bernie Sanders elected, fine, because then he'd be doing the same thing that every other, like all the evil oil billionaires are doing, right? Like they just put their money into getting Trump elected.
Did Bernie Sanders want all these same things that you're talking about? Was he going to hold the oil people accountable and say, even a criminal offense, that was retroactively criminal?
Yeah, pretty much. So if that's what he wanted to do, that's fine. It's just like not my, like I think I said earlier, like I don't put faith in one person. I wouldn't invest in one person. Also, like electing, we need not just 4 years or 8 years of change. If you put all your money into electing one person, you have all this money and you put it into electing one person, and even if you succeed and the political system stays the same, in 4 years, Trump runs again, we get Trump again, it all falls apart. To solving climate change requires this like long-term investment and mobilization and commitment to reducing emissions. The fossil fuel industry can survive 4 years of another president, of a president that's like, coming down on them. And then in 4 years, they'll just go back to the way things were. And we'll be just as fucked as we are now.
But do you think like in America, is the renewable energy, are the lobbyists for that becoming powerful? Is it becoming a big industry to push back? Is that working out?
Yeah, it was bigger this year than it ever was. It's still not like sort of anywhere near that power, influence, and money that the fossil fuel industry has. But at least like from my calculations, I did a story on this right after the election about renewable energy money going into Biden's campaign. There was like at least $25 million that I could find going from renewable energy companies to Biden, but their lobbying apparatus, their political apparatus, that's just like that is not just donations to candidates, but like funding dark money organizations and funding ideological groups, conservative groups, right? And then have big trade organization, and then the money in that, like the renewable energy is growing and it's competitive and it's a bigger player, but it is nowhere near as sophisticated or big.
Okay. Do they still have to use fossil fuels to make the equipment, like for solar panels and things like that? Is it still is it intensive? Mm-hmm. So it's still a drain on the earth. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, everything is a drain on the earth right now. That's not really like for me, that's like, we have to use fossil fuels to make it. Like, we'll never be able to use renewable energy to make renewable energy if we don't make the renewable energy, if we don't make the equipment first, right? Like, we have to make the stuff before we can power it with the stuff. It's like, it sucks. Everything sucks. We're trying to make it better. Like, the choice we have is either don't make the stuff, don't make the solar panels out of, using fossil fuel energy, and then just use fossil fuel energy forever. I mean, that's it. It's like, you either make it using fossil fuel energy so that one day you don't have to use it, or you just use fossil fuel energy forever. What's it going to be?
I was just speaking to a guy, my last guest was a pretty amazing character. I don't have time really to go into the whole story, but he sailed with fire from Norway to Ireland. He took this...
With fire?
Yeah, he took a fire to where there was a place of abundance on a sailing boat through the winter around Scotland, across the North Sea to Ireland.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. So, and then they put it out in a fire ceremony in the center of Ireland. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, and so now he wants to. The next phase, next part of his plan is he wants to go and live on an island and just live completely sustainably using no fossil fuels, no, just horse and cart and sailboats to do everything. So he's kind of doing it.
That's crazy. Yeah, I was just talking to, like, earlier today, I was having coffee with this with this dude who works in the renewable energy industry, and he was just telling me how hard it is for, like, an average person to live their life in a way that is based on renewable energy. Like, if they wanted to retrofit their home or electrify their home, or basically live a carbon-free lifestyle, all of the options are there for them, but actually implementing them is very difficult, not because it's that expensive to do, but because there are weird, burdensome, dumb regulations around all of the things that you have to do. It's like just the policy environment, local government, archaic regulations make it so much more difficult to just make good choices, which kind of sucks, because it's like, we've always been told that, like, it's just do your best, and, like, it's individual responsibility. That's like the American way, like, it's individual responsibility. But then you try to take the problem into your own hands, and there's obstacles put up in every single direction you try to turn in order to just be responsible. Like, I wonder how much sacrifice and work and effort this dude you're talking about had to make to live in this way.
I mean, it's like what I heard you on another show say that actually the recycling, the consumer recycling program was it funded by it
was created by the plastics industry, yeah. And the plastics industry is the fossil fuel industry, because plastic is made of petrochemicals.
Wow. To shift the burden so that, hey, it's your responsibility.
Yeah, and it makes them seem really, like, good, right? Because they're like, hey, we're the plastics industry, but, like, we all need to do our part and recycle, right? Like, just make sure you're recycling these plastics, and that way, the environment will be fine. And then you can just keep buying more plastics. And so they're like, oh, they're like, the environment is getting messed up. So we can either stop making so much plastic, or we can tell consumers to just recycle their plastic. Because if we stop making so much plastic, we won't make any more money, because we need to make plastic to make money. So just tell them to recycle.
So, because you said the largest percent of the pollution comes in the creation, in its initial creation.
Yeah, it's all in the extraction. I'm so impressed at all the back research you've done and stuff that I've said. Look at you.
Well, I'm trying to, you're doing so much to write and create it. The least I can do is read it.
That's very nice. I mean, my parents don't even read anything I write. No,
my parents don't listen to my music.
Yeah, what the hell? They're like, I made you. Why do I need to look at what you made?
Yeah.
I just look at you. I made you.
I've done enough.
Haven't I done enough? I feel that. I feel it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it comes from taking it out of the ground.
So, does it make a difference if we use reusable diapers, or use a plastic cup, take a plastic cup to the coffee shop and take our own cup?
Yeah, of course. And I would say so much of it it's important, and I would say the more important part of it is cultural. We're so influenced by what each other do and what we think and how we choose to live our lives in accordance with our values. It's why we post everything we do on social media, right? It's why you see a lot of people wearing masks, in their pictures on Instagram, even when they're in their own houses, because they're signaling to you, like, I care about this virus. And it makes you want to do it too, because you've seen somebody else do it. And then when everyone else is doing it, but you see the stores not doing it, you're like, well, why aren't you doing that? And then it builds pressure. I think cultural movements are just as important as or I'll put it another way. I think that you don't get momentum to hold the fossil fuel industry accountable until you have a massive cultural movement of people who are like, I care about this, and I'm doing all this in my life. Why aren't these people doing it? Right? It's not like I'm not going to. It's not like I'm not going to do environmentally friendly stuff until the fossil fuel industry does something. I almost I do environmentally friendly stuff, and then I say, all this stuff and sacrifices I make as just a regular person journalist, and I don't make money like they make. They have so much more power, and they do what? Nothing? That's unfair. And then you have the movement you need. So I think individual actions are great. It's just you don't think of them as that's as long as I recycle, it'll make a difference. In terms of if we all just recycled, the planet would be better off. Yeah, it would, but not because of the carbon emissions of the recycled plastic, because everyone would be more pissed off at fossil fuel companies.
Get angry. Okay. So I've got to condense this into a song. So, do you have any?
Yeah, I mean, how are you going to write a song about this?
I don't know idea.
Do you need drums? I just got these new drumsticks. They match my whole outfit.
Very nice. If I have a drummer, but if he's sick, I'll give you a call back.
I'm a beginner, so.
Okay.
I can only do 2 beats.
I'll stick with my guy then.
Okay.
Okay. So,
I'm around though.
All right. Well, okay. I'll write that one down as well. Maybe you could do a tambourine.
Yeah, ticka. Although I feel like that's normally what girls do, right? It's a girl gets a tambourine.
No, some of the best tambourine players are men.
Is that true?
I've seen some amazing tambourine players.
I have actually seen some pretty amazing tambourine players. Tambourine is no joke.
No. Let's not belittle tambourine players.
It's very hard to shake it on beat and then also hit it on another beat.
They have this skin on as well, and they stretch the skin, and they do all this kind of strange stuff. It's very good. Yeah.
Percussion is wild.
Oh, for sure.
Very difficult.
For sure. I have full respect. But going back to the song, do you think, is there a red line through your work? Obviously climate change. But is there, as I'm interviewing so many different climate change people, I could just keep using the same song, but I think it's nice to have the sort of to micro zoom in on some different. So what I'm getting from you is, correct me if I'm wrong, is this that the macro change is the most important, the change democracy.
Yeah, and also like talk about it like a normal person, like meet people where they're at. One of the things I try to do a lot is just, I don't know, make jokes, use slang.
Okay, comedy song.
So it's just like, did you ever see, I made a climate change song once. I put it on the internet. Did you hear it? It's to the tune of SpiderMan.
Okay, I'll have to check it out.
You know SpiderMan? I'll sing it for you. You ready?
Yeah, no, I know SpiderMan. Yeah.
But please go ahead. Because climate change makes the atmosphere act all strange, melts the ice really fast, all because of that greenhouse gas. Look out. Here comes climate change.
That's very good.
That's Thank you. I wrote that one in the shower.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I could just remix that one. Unfortunately, the Spider-Man melody, I can't use that. So I might just take some of your lyrics as inspiration. Move around some of the letters.
Oh, I also wrote another song. I'm just realizing. Hold on a second.
I think I'm losing you. It's a very bad line here.
Oh my God.
I think you're fading away.
Oh no. You're like, this is my job. Well, and you can't use it anyway, honestly, because it's Mariah Carey.
Okay.
It's like, to the tune of Mariah Carey. So we won't even go there. I'll chat it to you.
I think many people will be grateful for that.
Yeah. Well, I'm not a songwriter. It's just an awful thing I do to annoy people.
All right. Well, you've written so much already. I mean, you are a great writer. I've read your seen your newsletters, so I'll just make some of those rhyme, and I'll pick one of those articles, and then we can kind of share like a co-writing credit like that. So it's,
cool. I mean, take all the credit.
Well, I'll take one of your own newsletters into the shower, and I'll just stay in there until the song comes.
The shower but I feel like that's where it all happens, right? You're just like, oh.
Mm-hmm.
Does that happen to you? I mean, I feel like it happens to everybody.
Yeah.
We have to get out and write something down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, no, it's a great place. I'll hang out in the shower many times. All right. Well, I think I've got enough there, Emily. I mean, and I just will recommend everyone to sign up to your newsletter, heated.world, and read about it.
I can't wait to see what you come up with. It's going to be super fun. Right? Yeah, let me know if you need anything else.
I will do. I know where you are.
You do?
Or percussion.
All right, cool. Nice to talk to you.
It was a pleasure. Thanks, Emily.
Every year the fires are getting worse, and red smoke blocks the sun out of the sky. Can you really say it's okay that way. How can you live in denial when terrifying storms do so much damage? Get stronger and move slower every year. Meteorologists exclaim that they're running out of names. How can you live in denial? Slowly, surely sea levels rise, along with the CO2 in the sky. If your home was destroyed, then would you believe? How much proof do you need? Every year things get a little hotter. Each season sets record-breaking highs. All the ice is melting, the Arctic's close to collapse. How can you live in denial? Forests are disappearing overnight. So many species have been lost forever. How can you say it is okay this way? How can you live in denial?
Hello and welcome to the end of the show. This is traditionally where I ask you to share the episode, rate and review it on your podcast app, and listen to the song on Spotify, iTunes, or even better, download it so you can have it forever from Podsongs.com. It's only €1 or $1, and that money goes to pay for the musicians, Maurizio San Nicola, Massimino Vozza, and my researcher Dori Verba. Thanks to you, the listener. See you next time.